The guest speaker today is Captain Steve Mack, Commander, Submarine Development Squadron 5. Today's ceremony will commence very shortly. All guests should remain seated unless specifically requested to rise. Military guests should remain uncovered and are only required to stand at attention during the national anthem. Bosun, stand by to pipe the side.
Aye, aye, sir. Side boys, post. Left, face. Forward, march. Left, right, face.
Buffalo, a 10, hut. Will the guests please rise for the arrival of official party, parading the colors, and invocation. Buffalo, arriving. Subderon 5, arriving. Commander, United States Navy, arriving. Subron 19, arriving. Color guard, parade the colors.
Ready, 2, forward, march. Present, arms. Color guard, retire the colors. Shoulder, arms. Ready, 2, right, face. Forward, march.
Bosun, post the side boys.
Aye, aye, sir. Side boys, left and right, face. Forward, march.
Chaplain Veltais will now offer the invocation. Military personnel, command and cover.
Morning. Let us pray. Eternal Father, we are grateful that we can celebrate the peaceful transfer of naval leadership conducted through tradition and ceremony. We seek your presence this morning to bless this change of command as we offer the traditional farewell and following seas to Commander Maxwell. Bless him as he moves on to the next phase of career and life. We also extend a warm welcome to Commander Lee. Watch over him as he assumes the mantle of leadership and leads and mentors these sailors as they defend our nation. Grant Commander Maxwell clarity and purpose in his new position, and give Commander Lee vision and guidance as he directs the dedicated crew of the USS Buffalo, who so valiantly protect our nation. And Lord, kindle in each one of us a continued sense of honor, patriotism, and love of country. But most importantly, Father, keep us all in thy watchful care. We ask it in your most glorious name. Amen.
Will the guests please be seated? Buffalo, seats. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker today, Captain Steve Mack, Commander, Submarine Development Squadron 5. Captain Mack has served aboard USS Alaska, USS Memphis, and the USS Virginia. He served as the commanding officer of USS Hawaii from January 2010 to March 2013. Short duty assignments include submarine school ground in Connecticut, submarine headquarters at HMAS Sterling, Western Australia, Submarine Squadron 7, Submarine Squadron 1, ComSub PAC, Prospective Commanding Officer Instructor, and U.S. PACOM. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Captain Steve Mack, United States Navy, Subdevron 5.
Chief of Staff, Commodore Lewis, captains, commanding officers, friends in the Navy League, and other friends of the submarine force, welcome and thank you for attending today. Thanks particularly as well to the band and our color guard team, again, always professional and always motivating. You know, as that was going on, it strikes different emotions for different people. I do remember fondly one time in my young officer career, standing on the pier in New London, Connecticut. We're all in formation, it's cold and raining, as you guys who've been in New London will be familiar with. Maybe not unlike here. A little colder. And, you know, colors went down, the crew snaps to attention, the CO turns around, salutes the flag on behalf of the entire group, turns back around and says, they don't do that at IBM every day. And that's a fact. And so what I'm going to talk about a little bit today are the traditions, the significance, the values that we embrace in the submarine force and the Navy more broadly and in our military. I want to take a moment before I get started, though, and recognize VIP family and friends of Commander Micah Maxwell and Paul Lee that are here today. Micah's wife, Carmel, and their sons, Henry and Marco, are here, along with his parents, Scott and Nina, as well as Carmel's parents, Manny and Lenny. Mike is also happy to share this day with friends and family visiting from North Carolina, Washington, D.C., Hawaii, and California, and of course, I understand everybody in the Facebook world, too. I'm not sure that the Facebook world is also with us, so welcome to Facebook. Paul has in attendance his wife, Amy, their sons, Byron, and Bryce, and Brandon. Brandon's followed in Paul's footsteps into the Navy, as has his sister Brittany, who's currently deployed to Okinawa. Now, I suspect that Team Buffalo, sitting over here on the right, with their long and distinguished proud history in the Central and Western Pacific, and only recently moving up here to the Pac Northwest, are going through some of the adjustments I am as well. Diane and I were stationed out of Oconus in the Pacific for over 10 years before moving here in late July. So, I don't remember what it's like really to live somewhere where it gets below 60 degrees. And last week, frankly, was the first time I've worn this blue uniform since I was a lieutenant commander. So the Navy PT is doing something right, I guess. I am going to reflect and ask you to think about the significance of the change of command ceremony that you're here to witness. It's rich in significance and remains essentially unchanged from the earliest days of our Navy, and rightly so. It demonstrates clearly and visibly to the crew and all of us in attendance here the seamless transition of responsibility, authority, and accountability from one captain to the next. This clear transition of leadership remains crucial to the fabric of our Navy. It's of vital importance that the crew sitting over here knows exactly who at all times is that one individual with the authority to give orders to take the ship potentially into harm's way, who that one officer is who bears responsibility for the effective and aggressive deployment of his warship, and who that one officer is who will be held accountable for decisions made and actions taken. Those sailors are all relying on his decisions to safely return them home to their loved ones. Now, in your pamphlet, you've got an excerpt from Joseph Conrad, who wrote on Command at Sea, highlighting the burden of command in a few statements, which are often quoted. And I'm going to read those here today, so you don't have to break it out. It's all right. I'll read slow. But I want you to think about these things. There's going to be one other thing that I'll share with you in sort of doctrine for our force. And I'm going to put those in perspective against what Micah and Team Buffalo have accomplished during his time in command. So Joseph Conrad said, only a seaman realizes to what great extent an entire ship reflects the personality and ability of one individual, her commanding officer. To a landsman, this is not understandable, and sometimes it's even more difficult to comprehend, but it is so. A ship at sea is a different world in itself, and in consideration of the protracted and distant operations of fleet units, the Navy must place great power, responsibility, and trust in the hands of those leaders chosen for command. In each ship there is one man who in the hour of emergency or peril at sea can turn to no other man. There is one who alone is ultimately responsible for the safe navigation, engineering performance, accurate gunfire, and morale of the ship. He is the commanding officer. He is the ship. This is the most difficult and demanding assignment in the Navy. There is not an instant during his tour as commanding officer that he can escape the grasp of command responsibility. His privileges, in view of his obligations, are almost ludicrously small. Nevertheless, this is the spur which has given the Navy its great leaders. It is a duty which richly deserves the highest time-honored title of the seafaring world, captain. I want you to think about those words again and the responsibility that Micah has carried as he successfully led Team Buffalo through a myriad of highly successful submarine operations during his tour. Now, I've known Micah for quite a few years, and if you spend any time with him, a few characteristics are apparent. His pride of service and his concern for the well-being of his shipmates. Now, I suspect a lot of this comes from his deep love for his family and an understanding of their sacrifice and service for our country. Micah's grandfather was a Seabee in World War II. His father was an aviation electronics technician during Vietnam, and Carmel's father served in the Navy initially as a steward and ultimately retired as an illustrator. Micah is very proud of his family's history of service, and growing up, their story shaped his life. Now, as I said, I've known him for several years, and actually when I was in command of Hawaii, Micah was on the staff of the squadron that helped train and mentor our ship and got us ready for deployment. And as we were getting ready to take the war canoe, as we call it, Hawaii, on our first deployment, our engineer at the time became medically unready to deploy. Now, with the detailers, this was at 2 weeks prior to deploying, by the way, I should point out, so not a lot of notice. So while the detailers scrambled to find us a permanent relief, Micah immediately and selflessly volunteered to deploy as our engineer. His commitment at that time, we knew, was at least for 30 days, because there's a required 30-day turnover once we got an engineer on board, but could have just as likely been for the entire deployment as the relief was not identified. And I know this was no easy commitment for him, and particularly for his family, since he left on short notice with no defined return date, but he and his family stepped up to the plate in support of Micah, our submarine force, and our country. As I mentioned earlier, Micah and Carmel come from families who well understand pride of service and sacrifice for our country. Micah did an outstanding job and was an excellent fit with our team on Hawaii, quickly fitting in. He was a strong mentor immediately for our JOs and other department heads. He had already done the department head job and was coming back to help out. And he was a tremendous help for me as a relatively new commanding officer. He never shied away, and I'm sure this is the case with Team Buffalo, from offering his perspective, and was an outstanding officer overall and a true team player. Now, a few years later, Mike and I crossed paths again as I was one of the 3 prospective commanding officer instructors. I was the guy out in the Pacific, and Micah was on his way to Buffalo, and he immediately impressed the 3 of us as we observed him, and out at sea and in the trainers on shore as engaged, focused on training his team and getting the best performance possible out of them and the ship. We knew that with Micah heading to Buffalo, they would do very well. Now, the second thing I'm going to talk about is our submarine guidance that our submarine force has given our submarine commanding officers. And in doctrine, we'll call this a commander's intent. And so commander's intent is defined as a clear and concise expression of an operation's purpose and the desired end state that supports mission command, provides staff focus, and helps subordinate and supporting commanders achieve the commander's desired results without any further orders. So in the guidance that is given to our commanding officers, I'll read you what was directed towards Micah as a submarine commanding officer. As a commanding officer of a nuclear-powered submarine, you must uphold the highest standards of personal and professional conduct at all times. Our trust in you, along with the trust you enjoy from your crew and your fellow warriors, is contingent on maintaining those high standards. You are entrusted by our nation to take your ship and crew to sea without direct oversight or support, and shoulder the burden of accomplishing missions vital to our national defense in the most hostile and challenging environments. Your primary responsibility is to ensure that your ship and crew are ready to conduct a wide range of wartime missions on short notice. Arguably the last of the independent maritime warriors, you have more freedom of action in war and in peace than anyone else in the U.S. military. Now, I would say that Micah has fulfilled solidly our leadership's commander's intent, as well as quietly carrying the burden of command at sea that Joseph Conrad so eloquently described. He led his team through a full deployment workup, including a 7-month deployment to the Western Pacific, conducting missions vital to national security. Buffalo completed her final 7-month deployment in excellent material condition, which is a tremendous feat to get for a warship that's nearly 34 years old. Equally impressive, Team Buffalo was consistently ready to answer the call throughout deployment, including the final underway of that Western Pacific deployment, an impressive 89 days continuously at sea, starting in Guam on the 27th of September and all the way through until they moored at Pearl Harbor on 23 December, just 2 days before Christmas. Throughout his command tour, Micah has remained focused on taking care of his sailors while enabling the highest levels of performance for Team Buffalo. Under his leadership, Buffalo improved from the bottom third of people-centered rankings to the top third, while every personnel-based metric of performance improved during his time in command. A truly impressive achievement that, based on his family history of service and sacrifice, you might conclude he was born and raised for. Carmel, Henry, Marco, as you head out on your next Navy adventure with Micah, I want to thank you on behalf of the submarine service, our Navy, and our country for the sacrifices you've made while Micah was leading Team Buffalo. Your sacrifices were significant, but the work that this ship and this crew did while Micah was in command was of vital national importance, and you guys played a key part in ensuring and enabling that performance, so thank you very much. Finally, Paul, on to you. I congratulate you and your family on this assignment. Our relationship goes back pretty far as well. I knew Paul when he was a post-junior officer at submarine school, and I was there on the staff with him, training submarines. It was a great tour. You also have a family proud to serve and sacrifice for our country. There's no better job than command at sea and command. Leading our outstanding sailors aboard submarines is the most rewarding and challenging job you're ever going to have. You and your team carry the responsibility of safely closing out the final chapter of Buffalo's storied life. However, she does still have a nuclear heartbeat. She's got a solid crew on board and a mission ahead that I'm confident you are trained and ready for. I wish you, Amy, Byron, Bryce, Brandon, and Brittany all the best of luck, and I look forward to seeing you around the area. So thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Lewis will now present Commander Maxwell with his award. Buffalo, attention award. The President of the United States takes pleasure in presenting Meritorious Service Medal, Gold Star in lieu, second award to Commander Micah D. Maxwell, United States Navy, for service as set forth in the following citation. For outstanding meritorious service as Commanding Officer, USS Buffalo, from September 2015 to October 2017. Commander Maxwell consistently performed his demanding duties in an exemplary and highly professional manner. His unparalleled experience and judgment were critical to the ship's highly successful 7-month Western Pacific deployment, including multiple missions vital to national security. An emergent nuclear repair, and Carrick, Singapore, a large multinational naval exercise in which he and his crew sustained a strong relationship with important regional partners. Under his expert leadership, the ship completed 2 operational reactor safeguard examinations, 2 submarine command courses, and over a dozen fleet and research-related exercises. Additionally, he rapidly developed his crew, which had recently emerged from an extended shipyard availability into a cohesive unit, ready to support complex submarine operations in the Western Pacific. These preparations culminated in an intensive 7-month deployment to include a continuous 89-day at sea period and 5 8 days on station in a high contact density shallow water environment. Finally, he successfully and thoughtfully guided over 150 sailors and their families through a change of home port from Pearl Harbor, Hawaii to Bremerton, Washington, while simultaneously transitioning into a prolonged shutdown period prior to inactivation. By his exceptional professional ability, personal initiative, and total dedication to duty, Commander Maxwell reflected great credit upon himself and upheld the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service. For the President, D.L. Cottle, Rear Admiral, United States Navy. Cease.
All right, I warned the XO I'd steal the mic just so I didn't have a speaking role. But I want to kind of put into perspective what Micah has done. He's gone and taken Buffalo from the peak of operational proficiency, done 2 very daunting and challenging tasks. That's a change of home port and then preparation for inactivation. Neither one of those 2 are easy by themselves, but to come off deployment and do all that is a tremendous challenge. And Micah did that with style, brought the ship in looking fantastic. Many wondered why she wasn't just turning around and heading back out to do more great stuff for our nation. And to the crew of Buffalo, a tremendous job of doing that. So I want to thank Micah for the exceptional support and his leadership in bringing that ship here. And then for Paul to be able to now take it to the next thing. It's not easy inactivating a ship. Some may think it's pretty simple. You just turn off the engine, hand over the keys, and you're done, right? Now, there's a lot of work ahead of him. He has a harder challenge, this lengthy inactivation or this pause where before he even starts a lot of the heavy lifting. And so the challenge for him and his crew is to maintain that operational prowess. So, because many of them are heading right back to the fleet, to operational submarines as soon as they're done here. And that's where I'm challenging to keep that level of proficiency up. So when they get back to the fleet, they're ready to take over and keep doing the great stuff. So to you, best of luck to that. To Team Buffalo, awesome job. I really want to thank you from my heart as well as the country, what you've done for us. And now, yeah, it's a little bittersweet as we send you on to say farewell, but keep up that hard work, and thank you very much. Thank you.
Commander Micah Maxwell, United States Navy Commanding Officer, USS Buffalo.
Commodores, captains, fellow commanding officers, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here with us this morning. Special thanks to those friends and family who traveled from far distances to be here with us today. I want to start by saying that I'm humbled to stand before you today at the completion of a lifelong goal. In 7th grade, I decided that I wanted to join the Navy and be a sailor, and I hope that someday I'd be worthy to lead men. And, Command of Buffalo is going to be a highlight of my naval career, and I'm not sure anything's ever going to eclipse this. It's kind of bittersweet that I'm here today. I've shared a lot of amazing memories with the crew of the Buffalo all around the globe, from crossing the line ceremonies and swim calls in the Selva Sea to 30 days of trials and tribulation in Guam, and cigars on the bridge pretty much every time we pulled into port. So to the crew, thank you for allowing me to lead you, for leading yourselves, and for embracing the part of my command philosophy that says we are family. You know, it's hard work keeping a 34-year young submarine ready to go, underway, on time, every time. And today I'm going to regale you with a couple of stories about the grit and determination of this fine crew here that made sure Buffalo was always ready to go. So I'll start with, on the day we were ready to head out on Westpac, we were BSPing off the Palm Reval team. That's a long story. But BSPing off the Palm Reval team, and Lieutenant Commander Devoto, our eng at the time, hi Tony, was the officer deck, and we're on the 333 leg on our way into Pearl Harbor. We're about 2 minutes from a turn, and if you've ever pulled into Pearl, you know that you're pointing right at land. That turn's pretty important. We heard, emergency report, fire in the engine room, fire in engine room upper level, fire from the starboard turbine generator. And the eng looks at me and he says, I thought all the drills were over. I said, Eng, we don't run drills in the engine room with you on the bridge. That's a real fire. Now pay attention and don't miss the turn. So we managed to bring the ship in, and contrary to the plan at the time, we went all the way to the pier. Commodore Rex Road was kind enough to remind me that if we made up lines, our deployment counter would reset, and potentially our return from deployment would be after Christmas. So we used the tug to just hold us up next to the pier. Chief Martin, Petty Officer Craig, and Petty Officer Harmon made the repair to that turbine generator in 2 hours. In order to do that, Squadron had to go borrow a part from the ship down the pier, and then they put it in a bag and tied it to a heavy to throw to us because we couldn't make up lines or put a brow across. But you know, one example of the tough work and hard work of the crew. Petty Officer Craig was making this repair in the vicinity of steam piping, so we'll say he experienced some discomfort during that repair. But he was there for his crew and his shipmates and made sure that we got underway on time and made our water space so we could get to deployment on time. The next one was in Singapore. The stern planes failed. And Petty Officer Messmores, Petty Officer Medina, and now Chief Allison completed that repair and made sure that we were underway on time to participate in that important international exercise without missing any beats. So you can see Buffy can be needy. She likes attention, and she especially likes attention from the CO when he's asleep and the CDO is stationed. So if anybody goes on to be the CO, if you ever have your XO wake you up by busting in your stateroom at 0300 and telling you, Captain, this isn't good, I can assure you that it's not. I was about ready to ask him what wasn't good, but maneuvering came over the 1MC and ended the suspense. I'll tell you the dedication of Chief Eckley, Petty Officers Alvarado, Kleist, Williams, Tui, and Van Wert, you know, still amazes me with all their other shipmates in the repairs that we had to do in Guam and get our boat back out on deployment ready to fight. You know, that's the kind of crew and camaraderie that you need to be successful. Men, thank you for your hard work, for trusting me to lead you, and again for embracing my philosophy of we are family. If you continue to look out for each other, you're going to continue to be an unstoppable force. I'd also like to recognize the following crew members who made a particularly positive impact. Petty Officer Ulip, the self-proclaimed morale Petty Officer. Petty Officer Francisco, the cameraman. And Chief Halvin, the CSC, for ensuring we always had steak and rice on that 89-day underway. Some other members of the crew, their specialty was keeping me out of trouble. So thank you to XO Sheriff, XO Regadio, Cobb Boyer, and Cobb Reed. Petty Officers Chapman and Withers were the captain's helm, and Petty Officers Sterrick and Coleman were the captain's throttlman. You guys kept me out of the weeds and literally off the rocks. There are many other crew members I'd love to name, but unfortunately we don't have time for me to name them all. Needless to say, Buffalo's success is not the result of my stupendous pontifications or colorful speeches. It's really on the back of the hard work, dedication, and expertise of the crew that you see here today. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention how the crew benefited from the dedicated support of 3 ombudsmen, Michelle Mancata, Aaron Fickling, and Courtney Brown. Courtney, our current ombudsman, couldn't be here today. She's busy at her day job as an elementary school teacher. But to her husband, Chief Brown, please accept this lei on behalf of Courtney for her service and in recognition of all the service of the great ombudsman who came before. officers, fellow sailors, and patriots who helped me along the way. Some are here today, some couldn't be here, but whether they're here or not, to all of them I'd like to say thank you. I'd like to mention a select few who had a particular impact on my life. Captain Dennis Carpenter, Master Chief Pete Dolan, Captain Bill Hicks, Captain Paul Habler, Master Chief Rich Cummings, Captain Stan Robertson, Captain Tony Carullo, Captain Ronska, Captain Mack, Captain Rognus, Captain Noel Gonzalez, Captain Kaiser, and Captain Gary Montava. I can name many other mentors and people who gave me guidance throughout my life. You know, it's a journey from ensign to commanding officer, and I couldn't have done it without all of their help. To my mother and father, thank you for always giving me what I needed and all the sacrifices that you made along the way. Thank you for pushing me when I needed it and picking me up when I fell down. To my father, thank you for convincing me the Naval Academy wasn't really college, and then refusing to let me quit when I found out that it was. To my mother, thank you for forcing me to do my homework even when I didn't see the point and I thought it was stupid. The lessons that you taught me about hard work and determination are what have made me who I am today, and please accept these lays for everything that you've done for me. To Lolo and Lola, thank you for entrusting me with your amazing daughter. I might not have looked like much in 1995 when you first met me, but you gave me the opportunity to prove my worth. And you fully accepted my family into yours with open arms, and no one could ask for better in-laws. Please accept these lays for all the love that you've shown me over the years. Sadly, my grandfather and my grandmother couldn't be here today. My grandmother is the most kind-hearted person you could ever meet, and I know she's going to watch the video of this back home in North Carolina, and that she's thinking of me right now. My grandfather, Henry, was the single most important influence in my life, even though he passed away when I was in junior high. But I would like to think that he's looking down on me today, and every day of my life I've tried to live up to the example that he set for me. And his stories about the sea and the Navy are what inspired me to be here today. My most important and heartfelt thanks goes to my beautiful wife Carmel, my sons Henry and Marco. I would not have succeeded without your unconditional love, support, and understanding. Carmel, you've taken this journey with me with a smile and a laugh and a sense of adventure the whole time. I remember the Thursday morning that Captain Mack described when I was squinch and I just came home from sea on a different submarine, and I said, I have good news and bad news. What would you like to hear first? He said, bad. I said, yes. You have to leave on deployment tomorrow. I said, close. I leave on Wednesday. With a smile on your face, the only thing you asked was make a list of what I needed to get underway. And if you're wondering what the good news was, it was that I didn't have to go to work on Friday. But that 30-odd days of deployment with Captain Mack was an amazing experience, and one that I'll never forget. And I thank you for being strong enough to allow me those opportunities to grow and become a better officer. Henry and Marco, I hope the days that we spent together in Singapore and Guam last summer are embedded in your memory the way they are in mine. Your family has a fantastic naval tradition. Your great-grandfather was my motivation. Grandpa Scott served on the Coral Sea, and Lolo Manny served on the Forrestal and many other vessels. They've got some great sea stories to share with you, but only when you get older. I suspect, like me, someday the sea will call your name, and hopefully you'll be able to recall fond memories of the Buffalo. I'm forever grateful for the sacrifices you've made to allow me to fulfill my dreams, and I love you so very much. We'll have some more adventures in Bahrain together as a family, and please accept these lays as my token to you today. All the crew of the Buffalo is in great shape. They're more than ready for the challenges ahead, and I stand in awe each day of what this great crew has accomplished. I expect they'll do even more great things with you leading the way, and I can't wait to see what those are. Finally, to the men of the Buffalo, I'm continually humbled by your dedication, perseverance, and determination. Every one of you should be proud of your accomplishments, because I know I am. Thank you again, and I wish you and your family fair winds and following seas. Booyah, Buffalo!
Booyah, Buffalo!
I will now read my orders.
Buffalo, attention to orders.
From Chief of Naval Personnel to Commander Micah D. Maxwell, United States Navy. Subject, Buper's Order 2507. When directed by reporting senior detached from USS Buffalo and report to Commander 5th Fleet.
I will read my orders. Chief of Naval Operations, Chief of Naval Personnel, to Commander Paul Lee, United States Navy. Subject, Buford Orders 0585. When directed by reporting senior, detached from Commander Submarine Squadron 11, and report to Commanding Officer USS Buffalo as duty for his relief. Ready for reading.
Ready to read.
I read.
Stand relieved. Commodore, I report as we believe in the procedure.
Ladies and gentlemen, Commander Paul Lee, United States Navy, Commanding Officer, USS Buffalo.
Chief of Staffs, Commodore Lewis, Commodore Mack, fellow commanding officers, ladies and gentlemen, family and friends, thank you for joining us today. Thanks, so I promise. First, I'd like to recognize Amy, my wife and best friend. Please accept these roses for as a token of my love and a down payment on which you have to go through for the next 17 months. And as the mother of my children, I know it can be trying. To Brandon, Byron, and Bryce, and my daughter Brittany, deployed last week. This is the first time in my naval career where I'm responsible for everything. Don't worry. But much like at home where Mom was there to make sure everything went right, I have the XO and Cobb to keep me in line. And yes, I called my boat way. Special thanks to my family and friends who made it out here today. I also like to note my Navy recruiter of more than 28 years ago, Ole Olson, was able to make it out here. Strange coincidence. He had gone unknown to me. I didn't know where he went. And then my uncle ended up running into him while they're on a fishing trip in Alaska, and we were able to reconnect. So I will say that the Navy recruiter started me on something that has gone a long way. Thank you. Everyone always says thanks to their mother, so Mom, thank you. I know we had some trying times, but I made it. To the crew of Buffalo, we will continue the tradition of the Buffalo Warrior. We will utilize this time to prepare ourselves to succeed in our next job. We will continue to hone our technical skills with the unique opportunities available here in Puget Sound Naval Shipyard, making the shipyard experience an asset in our resume. During our time off, we will continue to serve our communities and volunteer our time where we see the need, and make up for the past 7 months, for that 7-month deployment with our family. Commodore Cottle made his commander intent very clear. We are a warrior first. Be ready to fight tonight. When the time comes and we are ready to deploy on another ship, in another squadron, or a squadron staff, we will be Buffalo Warriors, masters of our craft. The Buffalo Creed. I am a Buffalo Warrior, a steely-eyed killer of the deep. I am the heart and the muscle of the most powerful warship in the free world. I have the heart of a bison, and from that heart I draw strength. I vow to take care of my fellow bison and to pass on the knowledge I have received. As a symbol of trust between my ship and my shipmates, knowing that I now stand the watch. To my boat, to my shipmates, and this is my life, a warrior at sea, I am Silent Thunder. I'm Buffalo. Thank you.
Buffalo, attend. Hut. Will the guests please rise for the benediction and remain standing for the departure of the official party? Chaplain Veltice will deliver the benediction.
Let's pray. Gracious God, you have told us that the mark of a good leader is loyal followers, that leadership is nothing without a following. Lord, our leaders should be men of integrity, goodwill, and moral character. Thank you for the leadership of Commander Maxwell, and ask that you bless him as he turns the page to the next chapter of his career. And as he assumes command, may Commander Lee be blessed with courage, goodwill, and a fruitful transition. Grant him understanding, wisdom, and the guidance that can only come from you. And lastly, to those under his authority, we pray that they may respond positively to his leadership, contributing to the joy of leadership and not its drudgery. For all this and more, we give you thanks, O Lord. Amen.
Amen. Bosun, post the side boys and stand by to pipe the side.
Aye, aye, sir. Side boys, post. Left, face. Forward, march. Left, right, face.
Subbro 19, departing. Sub Devron 5, departing. Commander, United States Navy, departing. Buffalo, departing. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the change command ceremony. Please remain in your seats until the departure of the official party and guests. Commander Maxwell and Lee cordially invite you to the reception. Buffalo dismissed.